I'm Sean Lang. I'm Senior Lecturer in History at Anglia Ruskin University, and welcome to this virtual open day. I'm going to take you through the history course and the sort of experience that you can have if you study history with us. The history course at Anglia Ruskin is organised over 3 years, and it's a combination of modules, some of them compulsory, some of them optional. Broadly speaking, it's arranged chronologically. So in the first year, the first one obviously that you'll encounter, you're dealing with what we call the early modern period. Broadly speaking, in terms of English history, you'll sort of know that as the Tudors and Stuarts. But it's not just English history at all. In fact, very far from it. We look at global history, we do indeed look at British history, and I mean British. We look at England, we look at Scotland, we look at Ireland, and how out of the three kingdoms, a kingdom of Great Britain, which is a union of England and Scotland, was created, and that takes you through the period of the Tudors, the Stuarts, the Civil Wars, and so on. There's also a unit on global history, which looks literally, the same sort of period, and you look at Asia, you look at China, you look at India, you look at South America. You take a global approach. We also look at the development of 18th century Britain, and we look at the development of Europe and the Western world, which includes North America, again from the Renaissance period through the Reformation, the Scientific Revolution, through to the American and the French revolutions at the end of the 18th century. So it's a sort of quite a broad sweep, if you like, over time. And a very important part of the first year, in fact, it's a unit which goes all the way through the first year, is called Creating the Past. And this is where we introduce you to the sort of skills that historians use. We get you into records offices, we get you using original materials, doing little bits of research, learning how to write history, including incidentally the rules of grammar and what have you, and generally learning all the sort of skills and attributes that go to make a historian, which is what you will become over the course of your 3 years. Then the second and third years, the second year looks first of all at the 19th century, and you can look at that in terms of British history, the Victorian period. You can look at that in terms of European history, American history, imperial history, the British Empire, and also at gender history, although that's a slightly earlier period, but the development of relations between men and women, families, and so on. And then the second half of the second year, we look more at the 20th century, so you get sort of 20th century Europe, 20th century Britain, and you sort of look at the more recent period there. And then in the third year, it's a little bit more, I suppose, some specialist studies. There's some work on Russia. Again, there's more work on Thatcherism, more work on empire, and also some work that we do with one of our colleagues, Will Tullett, on history of sound. There are various options that you can take. It's not all compulsory, but there is this sort of things. You'll see the details on the slides that I put together. So that's in terms of the sort of content. Then we also have, first of all, types of support and assessment that we have on offer. All sorts of support, actually. There's the support that we ourselves give as tutors and as your lecturers, advice on writing and feedback on what you've done and looking at drafts and so on, that sort of academic advice. There's also a whole section in the university which offers all sorts, a whole range of support for students, whether it's to help with writing or whether it's more practical help in terms of advice on money or that sort of issue, or housing and so on, and also very, very good support in student services in the area of emotional support, so that essentially one way or another we want you to get through, and we will do whatever we can. We'll give you whatever support we can in order to help you get through. The way the sort of marking and assessment works is that you get your marks, of course, and then if you pass the module, you get a certain number of credits, either 15 or 30, or leading up to a total of 60 per term, 120 per year, 360 for the whole 3 years. And then if you get all your 360 credits, you then get your degree. The level of degree, 2-1, 2-2, or whatever, will depend on the actual marks you get in the third year and some of the marks in the second year. The big part of the third year that I haven't mentioned is the dissertation, and this is a really important part. In fact, this is what gives you honours, and this is where you choose something to study. You choose it, you research it. It's going to be something that in some way speaks to you, something that you find particularly interesting, and it can be absolutely anything, really. I mean, dissertations we have known have ranged from various military ones, local ones, social history, the development of the Victorian restaurant, I remember, was one, political playing cards in 17th century England was another, the development of the helicopter in war, the medical services in the American Civil War, the development of Jackie magazine, which was a sort of girls magazine in the 1970s. There's a whole range of things that, that are on offer. And that you can study, and you research them. And we have excellent facilities here in Cambridge. We've got Cambridge University Library, got various museums and archives in Cambridge. Not surprisingly, it's a very well-known academic centre. We've got resources in London, but I mean, you go wherever it is that is relevant for whatever it is that you're studying. And we support you and help you, and you produce a 10,000 word dissertation. And for many people, that is probably the single most important and the sort of biggest thing that they do in the history course. But that's not all. We have work experience. We have very good relations with a number of local museums, notably the Imperial War Museum at Duxford, where we've had a number of students who've done work experience, and indeed some of them have got jobs afterwards. We've got a very good and developing relationship with the Museum of Cambridge. We've had various people who've done little sort of taster things for local schools if they're interested in getting into teaching. We also quite often get approached by local groups who are wanting history students to help with a particular project, sometimes with schools, sometimes with charities. It varies, but it's a very there's a lot of opportunities, if you like, to get involved with the local community using history. And we run a number of other things. We run field trips, for example, both within the country and locally, and also down to London, Hampton Court, and further afield. Every year we take one somewhere else in Europe. We've been to Vienna, Berlin, Prague, Rome, and Edinburgh. And again, it's sort of trying to explore the history of a major centre like that. It can relate to all sorts of different modules that you might do. And what do people go on to afterwards? There's a whole range of things. We've had a lot of people stay on with us, in fact, for the MA course and to do forms of postgraduate study. We've had many people going in for teaching, many people going in for museum work, but it's a whole range of things. We've had history graduates in the media. We've had them working in Whitehall, in government and in local government and in the media and in the press, broadcasting, and so on, a whole range of types of things that we do. We have an exchange program with two universities, one in Valparaiso University, which is near Chicago, and one, the University of New Brunswick in Canada. And basically you apply, but every year we've sent at least one history student over there, and sometimes two. And you basically follow their program for the second year, the first term of the second year, and it's the marking and the credit system works on the same basis. So basically, you get your marks and your credits over there, and you simply bring them over here and put them into your pot, as it were. And everyone who's been has said what a tremendous experience it's been. But if you really want to know what it's like doing history at Anglia Ruskin, have a look at the sort of things the students have said about us. This is a learning journey, essentially. You learn, we learn together, and we're exploring the past, and there is nothing better. If you do history, you are very much the smartest person in the room, and we will help you to develop that and become that. If you want to know more about it, have a look at the PowerPoint slides and click on the button to apply. And I hope very much that we can look forward to seeing you, and not just virtually, but seeing you in person next year. Thank you.